Earth debate uncut, live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, A Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, BG, Survive the Spin, FE Patriot, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Sea Level Cultist, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twadwazzle, Jason Hornsby, J Mel's 24, Unimento, Iron 26, Endless, Goldie McKinnon, Retro Bill, John Case, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Yun Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links to Patreon are below this video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Neil and a whole raft of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server. So, welcome one and all.
Hello, we got a new guy in Discord.
Say again, Neil?
We got a newcomer in Discord. Say hello.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
What's your name? Rocked? What do you want to go by? Rocked?
My name is Rodrigo, but call me Rod, whatever you want.
Rod, good to have you. I assume Neil's introducing you as a newbie, but for some reason that separates you from the rest of us. Is that the case?
Oh, he's a new
I don't
guy.
mind.
I didn't ask you,
Welcome him.
Neil. Neil, I wasn't asking you. Good. Rodriguez.
Yeah, what'd you say?
Is there a reason why you've been given a grand opening as an introduction as a newbie?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
We were just Mighty Mush brought him in. This is his first time in Discord, and he was brought here by somebody from Reddit, and he's fairly new to Flat Earth, and basically his experience, the toxic wrath of Reddit and other anti-flat earther bot farms, and
Hold on, just one
he's
sec.
been brought here.
Hold on one sec. Can you just mute Jardo, or did you want to add something? If so, can you add it, or mute, please? Jardo? Thank you. Go ahead.
Here we go.
Sorry. So, Poison of Reddit, go ahead.
So we've been talking the past hour or so, and sounds like a good kid. Is just wanting to learn something and not be attacked for asking a question like he was on Reddit. And we basically been discussing the general case out in the social media world, where there seems to be more and more of these bot farms, anti-flat earth, social media places where they come off as being flat earth, but you ask one question and literally hundreds of replies. They're all toxic. They're all ridiculous. And I think Rodrigo is just one of thousands of people who are experiencing flat earth for the first time in this way. which I think is the purpose of the bot farms. And it was just nice that he got the link to the show, and we've been kind of excitedly talking about showing how that we should be doing more and more of inviting people to the show and getting them acclimated to real flat Earth talk and information instead of what's happening.
Brilliant.
I just thought you'd warmly welcome them to Flat Earth. That's all.
Sure. Well, we've got a live show that's about the nature of Earth, and obviously, if Rod's got any questions, feel free.
Thanks, man.
We tend to open our shows with a question in terms of the people who are out there under the misapprehension that they've got a sphere to believe in beyond the measurements of an Earth that's flat to create that sphere to believe in. And therefore, we ask, not all the time, but most of the time, housekeeping questions, we call them. So I'll rattle our way through them. If you feel the need to answer any of them, obviously, feel free. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Which one?
Any, Neil, any.
Oh, boy, you sound like you're in a great mood today. I'm going to stay on mute.
Neil found out yesterday that flat earthing is secondary to my videography, which is my primary, what would you call it? Passion, let's just say. So Neil was saying, well, you know, you love microphones, don't you? And I'm like, no. He's like, but you're on videos talking about how fantastic a microphone is. I'm like, yeah, I'm selling that microphone. Of course it's fantastic, I'm selling it. He's like, so you don't love microphones? I'm like, no, they're a means to an end. I just need to pay the mortgage. And, you know, being censored as a YouTuber means that my ad revenues can drop significantly. Therefore, I've got to go on camera and say, this microphone's awesome. Please go and buy it on eBay. It doesn't mean I love microphones. But then I explained to Neil that when I was looking for a subject to cover on YouTube, I was looking at all sorts of different subjects. And what I wanted to cover on YouTube was an evergreen subject. Something that, come hell or high water or censorship, I could still produce videos on the subject of. Flat Earth, when I came across it, was like, yeah, well, that's a good subject to specialise in. Completely evergreen, not oversaturated. But in so hearing, Neil misinterpreted that yesterday at the end of the book editing session as though I don't love Flat Earth because I put it second to videography, and said in the same sort of vein that, no, I can be perceived as loving microphones, when in reality I couldn't give a toss about microphones. So, you know, as long as they keep the roof over my head, you know, I'll tell you how wonderful a microphone I'm talking into in that minute is, because it's going on an ad to sell it.
No, that wasn't it. A few weeks ago, you were saying people were complaining about your videos about microphones, and you were just saying, look, I like microphones. I've been in the business, and I use microphones. So I had a little joke for that, but I guess it didn't work because you don't like microphones. You're just doing it to earn a living. I got it.
Nobody loves some item that they're selling. Now, I happen to decide to specialise in something that I was using and studying anyway. So it's just an easy way of segueing into something with a minor specialist expertise in. In this case, the use of microphones, something I studied at college. I did media training. You know, I've got a reasonable expertise, probably isn't even the right word, when it comes to microphones. I've got a limited knowledge, enough to get by and flog them. But don't mistake my passion for something I want to sell for my passion for Flat Earth, which is a totally different thing. Because at the end of it, I was explaining to Neil, it's like I can't wait to stop selling microphones and start selling the book, because I can sincerely talk about how wonderful the book is. Whereas when I'm talking about microphones, it's just salesman talk. It's bullshit sales talk. I'll be the first to admit it. Do I love... What's the closest microphone to me? Do I love this biodynamic snare microphone that I made a video about this morning? I don't even own a snare drum! Neil, what do you want me to say? Literally, that's the video I made this morning. This is the Biodynamic 422C. C standing for Canon, that's XLR. It has one specific task, recording the transient impact of a drum hitting a snare, a drumstick hitting a snare drum. That's what I've said on the most recent video. I've said it with every bit of passion I can muster for a snare drum mic that's hyper-specialised, really expensive. Just that coincidence, in the book editing, again, I was trying to explain to Neil and the guys as we were editing the book, that if an item's got a box, people associate the good feeling they got when they unboxed the item with the box itself. So you end up with eBay ads with people putting the bloody box in the first picture because they think the box is important. Like, that's the packaging for the item that you want to buy. The box isn't important. But if it doesn't have a box, suddenly the item gets treated like it's dirt. So this item, right, this snare drum mic, right, came in the post in a freaking envelope. It's a £150 mic from the 70s. It's a miracle it survived this freaking long. Came in an envelope. I've had mics that are garbage. Not garbage, but just consumer level crap, right? I've got one next to me, right? Let's put it on camera. I might as well talk about this, right? This mic came in a box. It's a Sony piece of crap stereo mic from the 70s. It's worth about 30 quid. It is not a £150 snare microphone. But because it came in a box, right, the box was bubble wrapped and the item inside was bubble wrapped in the box. And then the box was in a box. Yeah, this is worth 30 quid. That's worth £150. It came in a freaking envelope. Why? Oh, because the box is gone, so who cares? Who cares about the item? It hasn't got a box. You're like, what? It's just nuts. People have got no idea. Well, they think that the item loses all value because it's no longer got a bleeding box. It's like, no, the unboxing is just part of the experience of owning the actual item, which has a function. Who cares if it's got a box? People think the box is important. It just drives me bonkers, especially when I receive something that I want to pay the mortgage with and turn a profit on in a freaking envelope simply because I paid less than I'm going to be selling it for at an auction, right? Someone's probably disappointed with that their item didn't go for what they hoped for at auction. So they put it in an envelope when they post it to me. You're like, oh, I could throttle that seller. Not that I just refuse to give feedback, positive, negative, or otherwise, because everyone would get negative feedback from me. You know what I mean? Nothing's ever good enough. What's up, honey? You looking for something? Glue? Yeah. Anyway, Earth's measured flat, by the way. So, as I've been chatting about flat Earth for the last, 10 years, should really include it at the beginning of the intro. I mean, mics are what's consuming me because it's the thing paying the bills. And a few, I should really shout them out, people who keep giving me super chats. So, although I'm not currently e-begging, right, I am really poor. And in years gone by, about this sort of time, when I'm about this sort of poor, I'd be like, I need money. And I'd be putting my hand out or my cap in front of me, whatever metaphor you want to use. But this time I haven't. I'm like, no, I'm only losing ad revenue because I'm not dedicating the time to the flat earth videography that I would normally because I'm writing a book and dealing with microphones to cover the fact that I'm not doing enough videography because I'm writing a book. Therefore, I know there's going to be a lack of revenue in that particular area. And the mics is just a means to an end. But it ultimately does mean that, I'm doing less on the flat earth subject. But again, this is all going to come to a head. Eventually, I'll stop selling mics, just be selling the book. And speaking to Neil specifically here, I'll have every ounce of enthusiasm, genuine enthusiasm for a book I've written, Neil. Yeah? So that passion will return with every ounce of a genuine enthusiasm that a product that is literally got my freaking name on it. None of these mics have got my name on it, by the way, Neil, unlike the book. Yeah? So I want to get into that. I want to be selling that, not mics.
No, well, the book will never be superseded. Why don't you get into that a little bit?
Okay. So in yesterday's show, I was trying to fondle around the idea of there being a high bar for any future authors, let's call them, plural, to try and achieve a higher standard than the book that's not even released yet. And I said it would take 100 years for the winds to blow in the right direction, where the minds of several people have looked over the bones, what would you call it? What was it described as by Brian and QE a couple of days back? The foundation of the book is mine, but the the nuance, the detail has come from other people around me. Not just in the sense that there's been 10 years of flat earth YouTubing on this channel, more that the book, especially the final editing processes, have had all of the citations and the polish put on the book that's been, you know, given a structure and a foundation, or however you want to metaphor it out with, by me and what flat earth debate is. Now, I can only describe this vaguely because Brian, in his honesty, has put it in a succinct way, because he was describing how he was jealous. He's like, I'm jealous that you've had this process whereby you can have the attention of QE and Adam to put their polish on top of material that you've developed over the last 10 years. Because Brian was basically explaining, or not apologising as such, but sort of justifying why he has these little jabs where he's like, oh, you got your ghostwriters then, when they're doing what they do. Adam and QE are doing what they're doing now. It's like, no, they're not my fucking ghostwriters. How dare you? But he divulged, he's like, well, I'm just jealous that the level of help that you're getting and the refinement of the book and what it will result in as a consequence of having that refined help. I'm jealous of that. It would be nice if I had that. I haven't. You have, for what you've done and what you've built. So I'm like, it's nice to hear that. Because, you know, his jabs and snipes. And Neil jumps on that bandwagon from time to time as well, because he knows it gets a laugh. But, you know, I've put my heart and soul into producing a book and sat through a process of refinement that I could have just put an end to at any moment. If I wanted to publish it tomorrow, I could. Well, what's Adam going to do? Stop me? It's mine. Now, I'm very grateful that they've helped and they've put their refinement into the book, and they'll even get a mention in it. But the point is that I want to be selling the book as it is, as it will be described. The highest of refinement, the highest of standard, the highest of bar, the highest of quality, the best quality citations and references. Every word has been pored over and scrutinised. How the book flows, which is beautiful. Yeah? And credit where credit's due to Adam and QE, where a semblance of an idea, for instance, in the editing of yesterday's section on gravity, did not come from me in the way each section flows from one to the next, about the hijacking and greasing of the skids of scientific laws, descriptions of things that occur always, being utilised to feign a scientific empiricism, a method that's used to establish cause and effect and not employed when just describing things such as natural laws. Well, when you're utilising these descriptions in a methodology in the book to take someone on a journey that explains why you'd need to do that when lying about the non-force you can think of as a force of gravity, with the best of citations alongside this process that you're reading through. That is to say, you're reading through how science isn't natural law and gravity isn't a force, and how they've lied to you is by greasing the skids of scientific empiricism with scientific laws of nature. No, they're not. Well, all of this gets explained in a much more coherent and flowing way thanks to the editing process and Adam and Quantum Eraser, who are concerned that this captures the mind of the man or woman reading it, that they follow this path and journey of understanding so that it's cemented in the mind at the end of the paragraph, and they understand why you would need to lie about the empiricism that science isn't offering when describing a natural law, which gravity is not. All of that comes to a head in each and every chapter, so that the reader, unless they lack comprehension, will understand what the world is and how the wool has been pulled over their eyes, in this case with respect to gravity. Now, what have I just prefaced? Why have I gone through all of this? Well, to answer Neil's question that he asked me about 6.5 minutes ago, which is about detailing the book's failure to ever be surpassed, rather than me dancing around the idea of it taking 100 years, the wind's blowing in the right way, and the right group of people spending 10 years together undermining how flat Earth is. And to speak to Neil in this regard, he said, well, what's the next man going to do? Make demonstration of that being a bit flatter? No. So, therefore, you can only draw one conclusion, given the refinement that's been put into Welcome to Flat Earth, the ultimate Flat Earth reference book. And that is that it will not and cannot be surpassed in terms of its quality. It's not like 100 years will pass and, oh, well, this 100 years didn't yield the fruit of a better book than Welcome to Flat Earth by Nathan Oakley. That will never happen. This book will never be surpassed. There's a good reason if you feel the need to get worried as a bald believer or anti-flat earther about this book. There's a reason. Yeah? It's because it is so refined that even before it's created, it's emanating its power before it even truly exists. So know this. Welcome to Flat Earth, the ultimate reference book by Nathan Oakley, will never be surpassed in quality. But undermining a ball and proving Earth is unequivocally measured, navigated, flown across, sailed upon, charted, built on, flat. Because it is. And the book points that out in a way that everybody can understand it.
Now
Maybe
that's more like it.
Should actually give a shout out to the ballers who have participated in this for 10 years because they contributed to this book. Right? They've helped shape it by the retorts and responses that they've had to our arguments. So we've nicely placed them in the book to make people understand why they're saying what they're saying. Beautiful thing. So shout out to you guys. Good morning, by the way.
Shout out retracted.
That's fair.
Right. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
What's that?
Right over there.
How about a refinement to that question, as in any evidence that knowing the distance to the sun is useful and practical in any way?
Say that again.
Is there any evidence that knowing the distance to the sun has any practical use for any practical purpose?
I mean, no, the distance to the GP is very useful. It's essential to the mapping and navigation systems that we use. It's at their heart in terms of their creation and can be utilised in terms of GP acquisition for the sun itself. And therefore, locational data, you can acquire a fix with it, in other words, right? But that's not the sun, that's the GP, the position the sun is over at a given time. But the
Right, and that's not what people are that's not what people are talking about. They're talking about how far away is that sun from Earth.
Yeah, and that's how you preface
Right?
the question, hence me giving a disclaimer in the answer, which is to say that's not how you phrased it. Obviously, that's now clear that that was intentional. You're talking specifically about the shiny light thing in the sky we call the sun and distance to that shiny light thing only, not with respect to its GP, not with respect to linear distances on a flat plane and a Cartesian system for acquiring our fix, but the sun itself. No, there's no practical use in doing that in terms of how we do things. It's done with a flat plane and its geographical position on the ground that's flat, that's actually got a practical application.
Right, and 99% of the people, according to statistics, don't understand that knowing the ground position of stars, moon, planets, the sun is eminently useful in what we actually use elevation angles to those stars for. Ironically, we don't use the actual height of the sun above the Earth, which is where the Globers go, which is how, flat earthers say that the sun is 3,000 miles in the sky. Well, why can't you go there? And that kind of dumb stuff. So with questions like this for newbies, it's double hard to get to explain to them why, one, we can't actually get a height to the sun or the stars. They're not millions of miles away. and two, why it's important, actually, and very practical to be able to get a fix on the ground position of the stars and the sun for a lot of great uses. And that the ephemeris, the nautical almanac, is key to knowing where all those positions are and how they're predicted, quote unquote, for years in advance, and how we measure them flat.
Nathan's probably selling a microphone right now.
No, I'm listening to what your roundout's been. Right, give me 5 seconds to actually wait to see that the actual discussion's come to a close. I'll ask a new housekeeping question, Neil. Although you are correct, I am actually dealing with a customer on eBay.
Okay, I'm going to put myself on mute now. You can talk now, Nathan.
The show was late starting today because in the past I've sold an even more expensive microphone, the Beatles microphone, and the customer had an issue with it when they received it. Now, when they started telling me about this issue, I was live at the time, and then it becomes incredibly stressful when you're dealing with an issue with a customer because you're trying to resolve the issue and still running a live show. And in the case of today, the customer got in touch, told me there was an issue just before I would have started setting up for the live stream. So I'm like, I won't make that mistake again. Well, not really a mistake. I was already live, but you know what I mean. I won't needlessly put myself in that scenario if it just means being a little bit late. I'll deal with the customer. So I did, and resolved the issue, which was my fault. It's like I'd used a template from a microphone I'd sold and created a new template. I created a new listing with the old template, made adjustments to the template, and then published it. And then there was a detail of an additional 2 items that weren't included with the sale that I hadn't intended to suggest were, but there they were in the ad saying it was, supplied with these 2 extra items. So when the customer's like, where's these 2 items? I'm like, I'm sorry, it didn't come with them. I didn't say it came with them. It wasn't part of the advert. And then they highlight in the ad where you say it did. You're like, oh, shit. So I'm like, okay, I'll be resolving that then and giving you some money back in regards to finding replacements. Because I have said it, you're right. My bad. So I resolved that issue and then went live rather than stressing it and making an error or needlessly issuing refunds that I don't have to and things like that. But in the end, it's just like the item was a microphone clip, which is like no big deal. I mean, in this case, an AKG clip actually costs about 30 quid. On a £100 mic sale, that's a fair dent. But I'd rather, have the item still be sold, if that makes sense. So that's what I was dealing with when we were late today. As Neil's brought up me talking about eBay, I'm going to talk about it. If he hadn't mentioned it, I'd have just finished off sending this message.
Next housekeeping question.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Now, this is the one that got my attention. I don't care what anybody says, it's still number one to me because it opens the eyes of the layman. It immediately registers. And then the questions start. No, there is no evidence you can have gas pressure without it being contained. That's how you have gas pressure in the first place, because we have containment.
So tomorrow I'm going out for curry. I'm going to cement it on this live show. It's been offered to me for free by Craig, who just joined.
Yo.
Hello.
You guys don't reject curry, huh?
Absolutely not. It's almost rude. But we go out for curry with a couple of normies. And today I happened to be in Craig's neck of the woods because I was getting a engine light sorted out. And Craig Senior was explaining to me that the arguments that we have with the guys that go to the curry that we regularly do, I say regularly, reasonably infrequently, are normie positions. They're not like advanced flat earth positions. They're just normie positions. I'll give you an example, right? The idea that we have an 8 inches per mile squared curve is an idea that comes from the globe side. So when our good friend Craig on the panel puts that to one of these normies, they tell him, that is to say, the globey normie tells Craig, the flat earther, that Craig can't have that stupid nonsense of an 8 inches per mile squared formula for Earth curve. You'd notice, if that were true, is the globe-believing normie's response to Craig. Telling Craig he can't have such a stupidly large squared function for a curvature at 8 inches per the mile. How dare he? Yeah, normie stuff.
So how do you address that? That's just like reverse psychology.
Well, yeah, you dig out
Figure that out.
You dig out your Uno reverse card, you slap it on the desk, and you go, "Welcome to flat Earth." Then you don't want to accept your own maths. Welcome to flat Earth.
Exactly.
You got to say Bosch, right? You got to say Bosch, though, right?
Did I say what?
You have to go Bosch. Uno
Now,
reverse
that's
card.
with pitch data.
I do the pitch data all the time, and it just doesn't register. They literally almost always to a T come back and say that it wouldn't show curvature because of gravity. It's like the old of course you're not going to see geometric curvature. It's refracted, or those dumb arguments. I show them pitch data and I say there's 2 hours of flat Earth, and then they come back with gravity, and of course it wouldn't show curvature because it's following the curve of the Earth, or whatever nonsense. There's about 3 answers that they give.
Yeah,
And
but
there's just
meanwhile, it's flying level, right? For hundreds of miles.
right. Yeah. Meanwhile, it's level. That's all I can say, and just leave it at that and laugh at them.
That's literally the end of the debate, by the way. When you say maths is maths, there's no comeback to that.
Well, yeah, if you accept the measurements of Earth.
At the end of this, can I ask something?
Yeah, sure.
I could wait till you guys finish. I don't want to go like off topic or anything.
No, you're fine. Feel free.
You know how they on the flat Earth map they use like the UN map. Is that like acceptable? Like, is that what you guys use, or you think that's also fraud?
The UN map? Do you mean the logo? That's not really a map, it's just a logo.
Yeah, the little logo, how they have like supposedly like the North Pole on the center and all the other continents all around it. Is that like legitimate, or we don't know yet?
I mean, it's legitimate in the respect that we could detail how that map comes to fruition. It's got a name. It's called the North Pole-centric azimuthal equidistant projection of a globe. That's the map you're talking about. Well, that azimuthal equidistant North Pole globe-centric projection has its origins in measuring Polaris as the centre point to give you latitude lines that emanate from the centre of that map. Well, the latitude lines, the grid that's then converted to spherical and then back to Cartesian, has a different name. That's called the... what's that one? What's the one that they use generally that's square and oblong? Not Gall-Peters.
Transverse Mercator.
Mercator, right? So you can project that globe in various different ways. One of them is azimuthal equidistant, which is what's on the UN map. But no, what I would do if somebody was to present that map is to point out that it's distorted the masses through globe projection, and the globe projection's created from flat Earth elevation angles of the stars. So you have a process. Measure the stars with angles, like on my screen for my live audience now. create a system that's North Pole centric called latitude, and then project that onto a ball. Then take the projected points from a ball and project them up and out conically onto what you see on the North Pole azimuthal equidistant projection on the UN map. So there's a whole raft of processes that go along to create that map, as you called it. It's not. It's just a logo. But the logo's based on is a globe projection, and the globe projection's based on flat Earth angle measurements. There you go. Couldn't give you a more concise answer. It's a long answer. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I get what you're saying. It's just that to me, like the geography that doesn't really match up. Like if you like for example, a flight from São Paulo to Rio, which is 220 miles, is about 1 hour and 20 minutes. But from Newark, New Jersey to Miami, which is 1,050 miles, it's a 3-hour flight. Like that doesn't make any sense. And then when you look on the map that they give us, the distance is 5 times bigger.
I'm just confused. What do you mean it doesn't make sense? If those are the flight times, those are the flight times. What doesn't make sense? It's the map that you put those flights on, but the reason that doesn't make sense is because that map is a North Pole azimuthal equidistant projection of a globe that's come from flat Earth elevation angle measurements and a polaricentric system in the first instance. So no, it won't match. But the height that the plane itself cruises at is measured off surface level. So the flight proves a flat Earth with its altitude when in level flight, measured with the black box. And the distance that you gave was in miles. That's linear. Flat Earth only distance in miles, height off sea level for altitude for level flight. So these are flat Earth proving measurements that you're giving, and then suggesting that the flights that are measuring Earth flat for height and distance don't work on a North Pole centric azimuthal equidistant globe projection. No, but we're still measuring Earth flat with height and distance in linear miles or kilometres. So Earth's measured flat regardless of what these distorted maps do.
Gotcha. No, I wasn't like arguing about it. I'm saying if you go by the miles and the time, that doesn't make sense. Because how can 220 miles distance be only 1 hour and 20 minutes, and 1,050 miles be only 3 hours? That's 5 times more.
He answered you.
You know, and
Because the map's distorted, I just said. That's why.
No.
They distort the maps. But the maps don't change the fact that the measurement of the distance that that plane, either one of them, travels is linear and flat. And that the height that it's travelling with respect to a surface level measured with the altimeter is flat. So who cares what the maps do? The world's flat, being measured flat. Go ahead, Brian.
That's not his point.
that's what I was trying to get. That's what I was trying to get at. Like, so pretty much like what we see on the map is not what it really looks like, right?
Well, no, because the North Pole azimuthal equidistant projection that's on the UN map works from the centre out. It's equidistant from the centre point. That's how it functions. So to say that map doesn't work right, well, you're like, not necessarily. There are functional aspects of the Gleason's projection and azimuthal equidistant projection that do work well. So you're saying it doesn't work. Well, what for flights? Well, that map was never created with the intention of flights being projected on it. Men weren't flying when it was made.
No, the map is just wrong, Nathan. End of story. Why are you trying to do this? To make a point.
I didn't say it was right. I haven't said it was right.
You're not paying attention to what the guy is saying at all.
Saying the flight distances don't match on the
It's
map.
a complete non sequitur answer to what he's saying.
Saying the flight distances don't match the azimuthal map. That's what he's saying.
He's saying the times don't match. Now, you'd have to go into other things like this. The speed the plane is flying at and different things like that. But he's making a good point, because I've noticed that, and lots of people have noticed that flight times between certain locations don't match up with flight times between other locations. Like he's saying it'll be an hour between these two locations here, or 3 hours between these two other locations, yet the differences are far greater than triple the supposed. Do you know what I mean? He's making,
Exactly.
if what he's saying is true, then if what he's saying is true, then
Okay,
that's
fine.
the problem. Not for us.
Okay, let me just respond to that. You're fine. That's perfectly legit, but for the fact that you've incorporated the azimuthal equidistant projection into your question, therefore my response is going to be based on why it wouldn't be correct for the azimuthal equidistant projection. And there are reasons beyond the intrigue for why these times don't function. But function compared to what? On what? The Gleasons? On the azimuthal equidistant? On the Mercator? What are we saying you don't match to? None of the maps are right. Like, literally none of them. Because they've all had globe projections enforced upon them. So Brian's saying you're right, because the time that it suggests in distance that you'd have to cover over that period doesn't match any map. Okay. If it's been repackaged, I'll accept that. Fine. Yeah, very interesting.
The main point, I think, is that most of the arguments that are being bandied about have to do with maps and flight paths and things like that, which divert from the fact that airplanes fly straight and level at an altitude based off of sea level.
Well, you got too many people. You got too many people reifying maps into the actual territory we live on. And
Exactly.
that's why certain flat earthers have gotten in trouble, because they've been teaching a map, quote unquote, for years and years and years, saying that that's our reality when they haven't verified that themselves. Now that's caught them, put them in a little bit of a pickle. So that's the problem. Like, maps are useful for different functions. Different maps are made for different reasons, but we don't live on a map. You know what I mean?
I think using Rodrigo is a great way to focus on helping people like him, who's new to flat Earth and who's already been abused in the anti-flat Earth bot farms, to point out that arguments about flight paths and maps not working and you don't have a flat Earth map and all that stuff that he's been exposed to, he needs to forget that and not worry about it, because the truth is that airplanes fly straight and level. We have evidence of that. We can show pitch data and discuss how they fly flat and level, how gyros work, stuff like that. And that the directions they fly are straight, the miles they fly are linear. There's no curvature with any of it. The only time a plane puts its nose up or down is when it's going up or going down, and stuff like that. And we need to help teach people to be comfortable ignoring what seems like important and heady topics about flat Earth that can't be explained.
Hold on, I surfed that. That's a bit unreasonable. You
No,
can't
that's
just
not what the guy is saying.
You can't just assume how unimportant it is. Hold on, let me just find out from Rect 3000. Were you planning on doing these flights anytime soon, sir?
I have done them. That's why I mentioned them.
You're a pilot.
I'm not a pilot, but I flew. I took those flights from New Jersey to Miami, Rio to São Paulo, Louisiana to Belo Horizonte. Like I've flown around the South Central North America, and some of the flight times that it doesn't match up for the distance. The distance that's given us, that they tell us how far it is. You're like, how come this took longer when it's supposed to be closer?
A lot of that could be just up to the jet streams and which ones they use and how fast they're going, which direction they're the other. There's many factors that determine flight times, air time over distance. And there's even
I think the
ground
point I'm making has
distance
been
right?
brushed over, Surf Daddy. Sorry to cut you off. My point is,
Okay.
how has this impacted your life? And if we have a resolve for it, like we give you a reasonable explanation for why the distance would be different versus the time that it took, would that change your life in any way?
Yeah, of course not. But you know,
So
you
okay,
will
that's
prove
all I
my
need.
point
Thanks. Yeah. So who cares? Literally, who cares? You're asking it because it's been presented to you like it's important, like knowing whether or not the distance versus the time on a particular flight is of any relevance.
It hasn't been. You're not listening to anything the guy is saying, my God. He's saying that he has taken these flights and he's pointing out this anomaly. It has nothing got to do with anything else. Not about whether it's going to change his life. It would change his life if he knew why, because then he'd have some clarity.
Okay,
Maybe
let me just
not
ask him.
change everything.
Okay.
He's just pointing out anomalies within aviation that are constantly there because they're bullshitters.
I got that.
What's wrong with what he's saying?
Brian, I asked him.
Why is everyone attacking him?
I asked him, if you had an answer, how much would it impact your life? He said he wouldn't. You're saying it would. Not according to him. He just said it wouldn't affect him.
It's a complete non sequitur to ask him, Nathan. You're doing your best to just not address the thing whatsoever. All the guy is saying is, this is an anomaly. Right? He's right. It is. From what he said, it is. Now, you can take the altitude the planes are flying at. You can say something to do with that. You can say something to do with the winds and the speed the plane is flying, blah, blah, blah. No, there's an issue there. Right? There's no way around it. If what he's saying is true and the distances is given us correct happen, look, then that's an issue. Okay. And there's lots of them.
Okay, I got that.
No, it's not something we can
I got it. I heard. Yeah, it's an issue. Yeah, because they've distorted all the maps. Yeah, okay, I get that. But it's balancing this as being something that we could argue about, which won't result in any impact on people's lives, versus the demonstrable facts of how the plane deals with the surface it's flying over, which will have an impact on people's lives when they appreciate that that proves we're not on a ball. But the difference in distance is, to me, almost benign. Who cares? If you knew the answer, it wouldn't make a difference according to the person that just asked. You're saying, no, it would. There's an anomaly there. I'm like, yeah, I get that. But it's just not an anomaly that I feel is worth investing time in. Quite the contrary. Surf Daddy's of the opinion it's feast of nonsense.
Yeah, but he does, Nathan. I mean, he's coming to us and asking the question, right? He obviously cares. So to hit him with who cares, like, it's a little rough.
Well, yeah, but Nathan answered him.
Nathan
answered him the first time.
I asked him.
But you know,
I asked. Hello. I asked him, how much would it impact your life? And he said it wouldn't.
Listen. I'm not offended or anything. I get what you're trying to say, but you know, to me, the question I was trying to raise is that, you know, if they lied to us about that, well, you know, how do we know they didn't lie about the geography of the continents in the country? It would affect my life if I decide to go sail around the world thinking that, you know, North America is that way when it's really not.
That's what I asked you.
I could run into a whole new continent.
I got you. I asked, were you planning on doing this trip soon? You said, I've taken the trip. But, okay, so you're planning on getting a boat soon. You've got a boat, have you, that you're going to sail around the world like you've just said you will? Because then it might have an impact on you. Or are you just saying that hypothetically?
No, if I decide to impact me, but I'm not going to. I can't afford to do that.
Okay, I got you. Thanks. But for the hypothetical, you might sail around the world. It will have absolutely no impact on you whatsoever. Then, unless you decide tomorrow that hypothetical you might want to sail around the world, you put that into fruition. But you don't have any actual plans to do that. Therefore, this literally has no bearing on you at all. Like I said, but apparently I'm being told off, like it should be impactful and we should argue about it, and the distortions of the maps that we are acutely aware of, if we looked into them, might have an impact on us if we suddenly took up sailing. You're not planning on taking up sailing, I assume, sir?
Wouldn't you like to know to?
Do you want to just answer my question? Do you want to just answer my question? Were you planning on taking up sailing? It's a yes or no question.
If I would get the money to, yes.
You had planned on taking up sailing?
See, if I have the money to, I would.
Sorry.
So you have it.
Okay, so yet another hypothetical where you have the money. So hypothetically, if you suddenly become very rich, you might hypothetically sail around the world, and this might hypothetically be a concern in the distances that might have an explanation if we looked into it, because this is of deep concern and we should all dedicate time to it, just in case you get rich and become a sailor. So this is absolutely and utterly inconsequential to you, and we're trying to point that out to you. It means nothing, but it's been conjured like it means something to you, and you've bought it hook, line and sinker. You feel that this is important now. It isn't. Meanwhile, the plane itself proves we're flying across a flat plane when the plane is measuring the ground with an altimeter for straight and level flight. Now that will absolutely, unequivocally, that fact the Earth is measured flat with an altimeter for straight and level flight above sea level, prove Earth's flat, beyond all doubt, in the face of a belief that we're on a ball. Now, when that's the case, it is ideally the situation that someone like yourself comes along and thinks it's important to worry about a flight and whether or not the distance matches up with the time versus a map that's come from a globe projection that's based on angled measurements to a star, because then it all becomes so convoluted that you don't really know what it's proving or what it matters. And if you did get an answer to the question, are you suddenly going to get rich just to become a sailor so you can say this is important to you? Because it isn't, I assure you. What is important is that Earth is measured flat for the flight to exist in any capacity whatsoever. Now, are the maps distorted? Yeah, I've got an intricate understanding of maps and how they projected in the first instance from globes that were created with flat Earth elevation angle measurements to stars. How those distorted maps created in the friggin' 1800s don't correlate with flights is irrelevant when we can prove that Earth's measured flat for flights. This is inconsequential. It's a explanation I don't need to give you, but for the fact that you think it's important when it really isn't.
He didn't ask you for all that. He was just bringing up a point, Nathan. That's all the guy was bringing up. And you non sequitured him, gave him non sequitur answers. So did everyone else, I think, most of it, except for Chocolate. Right? The guy didn't do anything. He just brought up a point. When I just fly this flight and I just fly this flight, the times are different. Isn't that strange? That's all he was saying.
Why is it strange?
No, he didn't say he suddenly had to concede whether he was going to be a sailor or not.
That's
Brian,
correct.
Nathan is trying to bring him into the fact that it's measured flat.
I would have told you where to fucking go. Sorry for the language.
No,
Yeah, but Brian, hold on. Let me say something.
I don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear any excuses or not.
You hear it, but you want to come and attack him, but you don't want to hear that Nathan.
He was just brought up a point. My God.
And so did Nathan. Saying, forget about all that bullshit. You're flying on a flat Earth.
Point. Nathan didn't
Brian,
have any
stop your own
point.
freaking
He
show,
not sequitur.
Yeah, but the guy's not trying to argue that it's a globe. Again, he's just pointing at...
Nobody said he was. Nathan gave him the
as if he did something wrong and he didn't do anything wrong.
No. Did you hear the first answer Nathan gave him? Did you hear the first answer Nathan gave him, or you're coming in at the
It had
end?
nothing to do with what he said.
Come on.
It had nothing to do with what he said concerning
You're
the
being
flights.
ridiculous, Brian.
I heard it all, Neil. That's why it came in.
No, Ryan's not being ridiculous.
So Nathan didn't give him the right answer by telling him, don't focus on that. Earth is measured flat.
He's just going at him in a way that the guy didn't come at him. Like, that's all they're saying. That's all me and Brian is saying. He's just bringing up a point and saying, hey, this doesn't really make sense.
Okay, so let's go chasing flight routes now. Let's go to Big Ball Dave and start looking at all freaking flight routes. And
are you okay? Do you need medication?
Okay.
What's wrong with you, man? Calm
He's
down.
annoyed. He's annoyed.
Let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Just start from the beginning.
Guys, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to start arguing.
No, that's what we do. No, you've got nothing to apologise for. Hold on, Neil, chill. Chill. No, that's okay. This is not a you need to apologise scenario. This is a thank you for for having this inquiry that's developed into this discussion. No, we should be thanking you. You don't have anything to apologise for. Far from it. No. This Feast of Nonsense subject matter was alluded to by Surf Daddy. He's saying, look, the spam bot farms, or whatever he called them, have left this chap in the impression that it's to be concerned about, like when you've got distorted maps and the flight plans, like Dave Weiss does on the azimuthal equidistant projection, which is how the framed question came to me. So I've gone, well, it's a distorted map that was made in the 1800s. No, it's not going to work with flight paths. And it's not important whether or not it does when the planes have got a far more useful, practical application for proving Earth's flat. It'd be far better for our opponent to get us talking about whether or not the flight times match with the distances on the distorted maps, like the AE map, rather than talking about whether or not we're measuring a flat Earth with altitude. So I understand Brian's position, because he's saying, well, you're just fobbing him off with a non sequitur. It's non sequitur to the fact that these times don't match to say we measure a flat Earth with an altimeter. That's non sequitur. And I'm saying, yeah, I'm offering it up as an alternative because I don't want to address it. I'm not offering any rebuttal to it because I'm saying it's nonsensical to be discussing it. It's feast of nonsense. When we could be, and therefore Brian's right, non sequitur, talking about how Earth's measured flat with altimeters. It's not my response to him. It's my alternative that I offer in the face of the feast of nonsense we shouldn't be concerning ourselves with. And I've offered an example. Are you going sailing? Is it a concern? Do we need to worry about this? Not unless we're frigging sailing or the pilot, is my argument and angle on it, Brian.
Yeah, but it's not. What he's talking about is not feast of nonsense. He's not trying to promote high sports and don'ts. He's pointing out something that's happening in the real world when he's flying. If what he says is true, then he's got a point. It's worth investigating.
Okay,
I'll
revise my answer. I'll revise my answer. Okay, fine. Dude, Rect 3000. Interesting point. Well worth investigating, I would say.
I mean, is it such a bad thing given the amount of time we spent talking about flight times? I mean, seriously. Is that such a bad thing? The guy brought up flight times. Oh, no.
No, we didn't. Hold on, Chocolate. We didn't say it was a bad thing. All I'm saying is Nathan gave him the answer or what to focus on. You came in and started this ruckus.
Yeah, you.
He didn't ask for any of that.
Yeah, okay, dude.
Hold on a second. He didn't ask for any of that, so wait a second. You want us to indulge in it instead of bringing somebody to a better proof.
Indulge in what? Like, he's not trying to prove globe, from what I heard. He's saying flight times are wrong based on the map.
We know that.
He's saying
I've been talking to him since freaking this morning, so I got a little more understanding of who he is. I know he's a flat earther. Nobody's saying he's promoting globe.
Nobody said he was a flat earther.
Was Nathan in his answer.
Nobody said he was a flat earther. Nobody said that. That hasn't been said.
We tried to say it earlier in this morning, and it was brought over.
Not that it matters, but are you a flatty or not, Rect 3000? Not that it makes any difference.
You asking me?
Yeah.
I don't honestly, bro. I don't know what I believe in. I know that NASA and all this shit that the alliance was. I know that. Now the shape of it or whatever this is that we're in, I don't know. I'm trying to find out. I want to figure it out.
See, that's why I'm here and you're there, lads. No offense. Called it. Yeah, Earth's measured flat base.
You didn't call anything.
Yeah, I did.
Yes, he did.
Yes, I did. I knew the
score. So when someone points out an anomaly, right, and they're curious about it, that suddenly means that you have to tell them about pitch data.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I don't see why you have to go straight. Well, it is.
Because otherwise, this new to the subject person will be taken on the feast of nonsense path that we decry and start looking at how planes fly on an azimuthal equidistant projection. Maybe he'll find his way to Dave Weiss's app and start asking all sorts of other 9/11 related questions. You know what I mean? So yeah, I do feel that's the appropriate question. Don't ask me about flight times on distorted maps. Earth's measured flat with flight data. What's my response?
That's not going, Chocolate. You and me are on the same page here.
it's like I said before, right? Like maybe the guys knew he's trying to get into it, and he's getting hit with, "Oh, your map is wrong, and you don't have a flat Earth map and shit like that." We can help him out by saying that's the type of shit he's gonna get, because people are gonna hit him with maps and reify maps into reality when that's not the case. You know what I'm saying?
I think you and Brian should get your own show if you know how to do it better.
Check out
I
Neil.
don't think we
Shill.
need smart answers, Neil.
That's really silly, Neil.
Yeah, shilly,
Like,
very shilly from Neil.
honestly, it's really silly. I'm actually being serious right now. I'm not trying to
Oh my!
dumb shit. So I'm talking to the guy. Well, I'm telling him about reification. Is that a problem with you, Neil? Is that okay?
I don't
Sir?
know, but it seems like everything's
Thanks.
a problem with you.
I wasn't
Chocolate.
talking to you though, Neil. So thanks. Appreciate that.
Nathan gave the proper answer. He don't
Yes,
need to
thank
go
you.
to the
Please tell
feast
us
of
again how
nonsense.
Nathan's answer was so wonderful and great.
Yes,
Please.
Neil.
Please tell us again, Neil.
I didn't say wonderful and great. I said he gave the proper
why don't
answer
you?
to a newbie coming here who we're trying to avoid going to the feast of nonsense.
The guy didn't ask a question. He was pointing out after he did ask a question about the maps, but then do we adhere to a map? But then he pointed out an anomaly he noticed while taking flights. That wasn't the question. That second part, that was just giving us information.
And Nathan pointed out it doesn't matter. You're doing it on a flat Earth.
What
Brian's
else
saying-
did
Brian's saying it
Nathan
does
point out?
matter. It's an interesting anomaly. We shouldn't just brush him off. I agree with Brian. However, I still feel my approach is the correct one. It doesn't mean that I should just completely disavow what the guy's saying when it's an interesting anomaly. That's what Brian's taking umbrage with, and I don't blame him. Fine. I have acknowledged it. I wasn't being sarcastic. Interesting point, interesting anomaly. Brian will
You know what else is
And look,
interesting? The ice wall.
this type of thing might happen more and more because aren't we promoting a book? You guys want new people to show up here and ask questions, and this is how you're going to talk to each and every one of them? Come on,
Yes,
man.
yes,
You know I'm being
absolutely.
reasonable.
Wow.
Yes, we are gathering them up with open arms and affection, so we can call them the retards that they are. Chocolate.
Listen, there was a guy in here the other day talking
if
about
the
a
guy
ice
is
wall.
retarded, I mean, if they come in like that, then by all means, I got your back. But until I see that or hear that, like, come on, what the guy's saying is not a bad thing. It's
No,
not
don't
feast and
disagree.
nonsense. He's pointing
didn't
out
say it
flight
was
times
bad.
are wrong. We haven't spent a lot of time pointing out how flight times are wrong on a globe. Come on.
Yeah, in the past, yes, we were also sat at the table of Feast of Nonsense. Chocolate, that's correct.
So the flight times argument is feast of nonsense.
Yeah, it is when it's
That's
on an
what you're saying.
azimuthal equidistant.
Absolutely.
It is when it's on an azimuthal equidistant projection, and that's how the question was prefaced to me. Brian's just clarified that. He said after the question about the azimuthal, he pointed out the anomaly, therefore the two aren't connected. Okay, my bad if I've connected those two things as they were literally connected by a space of about 4 seconds. That's my bad if they aren't connected, even though in time terms they literally were following one from the other. But my bad. Okay, it's an interesting anomaly. It has nothing to do with them being measured or put on the azimuthal equidistant projection like they would be in a Feast of Nonsense app that we won't mention.
Is it proper in this topic to say you don't know what you believe?
Yeah, I heard believe too. I heard that. But we got to entertain that now, John. Now it's going to be wrong if we say we don't have beliefs. We have a knowledge of Earth being measured flat. That's going to be wrong.
No, it won't. Why is that wrong?
I don't know.
Well, why is
Right.
Yeah, support that,
I
Neil,
know.
as you're having a go at me and Chocolate.
Yeah, you got
Support
to back.
that.
Yeah, support that, Neil. Why are you saying that?
I don't know anymore. I'm
Go on,
afraid
Neil.
to say anything about Earth's measurements. We might have to go around and say and break down what beliefs mean.
So
And you
Neil,
know
when I
what?
ask
I'll
you,
break it down. Hold on, Brian. I'll break it down. We don't believe Earth is flat. We have a knowledge of Earth being flat. How do we have that knowledge? Because it's measured that way. And measuring something is to know beyond the shadow of a doubt what that something is. And we've measured Earth to be flat.
yeah, but he doesn't
And
have that. Sorry, Chocolate, go on.
I just gave him that.
That's something you have to actually see and learn about. You can't just be given a non sequitur of a lot of
Yeah, but
knowledge and
now
go.
it's up to him. Now it's up to him to ask the question: how has Earth been measured flat? Not for you guys to come in.
And let me just translate that for this chap, right? Rect 3000. What Neil's trying to say is...
Not for you guys to come in, but it's okay for me, Neil, to come in. Oh, yeah, that's great.
Neil's saying, we can only show you the door, but you are the one who has to walk through it.
Basically, yeah.
So what's it to be, Rect? You take the blue pill, you stay in La La Land. You take the red pill, you realise Earth's measured flat in this mapping nonsense. I mean, very legitimate point that we should focus on heavily, says Brian. It's just a flat Earth measurement in disguise.
I'm trying, man. You know, I really am. You know, like like I was telling this other guy before, like, you know, I've been programmed since I was a kid. You know, it's hard to accept something. You know, and you kind of want like some kind of proof. And I'm seeing this more and more, and I want to believe this. I do. You know what I'm saying? But I'm looking at every little thing. And like you guys said before, I'm just a noob. You know, I'm sorry, but hopefully I'll catch up to you.
You're all good, man. Don't worry about it. It's really basic. Because it's so basic, it's actually quite boring when you know the truth. Earth's just measured flat. In all instances, in every respect, always, without exception. Now, when you know that Earth is measured flat, always, without exception, that's not very exciting. There's not a great deal to that. If we can make it about missing land masses and time durations on flights, mapping the world and the wool that's been pulled over our eyes, deceiving us about those distances, it becomes a lot more fanciful and exciting. You know, you can then take that fanciful excitement and insert things like ether and free energy, 9/11 truth, clone centers, all sorts of shite. It opens the floodgates to all of it, when in reality the concept that we're actually dealing with here is really basic. Earth's just flat and that's how we measure it. Pretty boring, but that's how Earth is dealt with. Flat. Always. Look up any measurement of anything with respect to Earth ever, and it will be flat. Now, when you put that to somebody who's like yourself, you know, on the ball side, maybe they're a bit more dedicated to the ball, they'll tell you, yeah, of course we measure Earth flat. It's really big. That's why we measure it flat.
I don't think we're in a ball. I don't believe in the whole sphere thing. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I don't know if I believe if the Earth is flat either. You know, I get what you're saying. I know we measure it flat, but that's not sufficient enough to just for me to say, you know what, the world is flat. You got me, because we measure it, then it is.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've just got one step away from the cognitive dissonance and the confusion to just accept that the Earth is measured flat. For me, I just took a angle measurement to Polaris. I made a little sextant and I looked at Polaris, and the reading of my degrees of elevation to Polaris matched where Google said my latitude was. That's it. You just measured a flat Earth. You didn't do any calculations. You didn't do any nonsense. You just measured a simple elevation angle to Polaris, and what the protractor said matches your latitude. That's it. End of story. And that is where I finally said, yep, it's measured flat.
That's more advanced than this chap. Just one sec, Neil. That's more advanced than you need. Miles, kilometers. There's a reason those are drawn as straight lines on flat maps. It's because it's a linear measurement. Miles and kilometers require Earth be a flat plane for them to work. So if you've ever used miles for anything, then you've measured a flat Earth with them. Or, alternatively, if you're using a map, Earth was measured, past tense, flat for those miles. It's a flat Earth prerequisite. Distance measurement, yeah, that's Earth and measurement in the same sentence. Therefore, flat Earth proof every time. Oh, there's a measurement that's involving Earth. It will and can only be flat. Miles in this instance, kilometres in this instance. You don't have to measure Polaris, but yeah, measuring Polaris is a flat Earth prerequisite. It's an angle. One line's the surface. One line up to Polaris, one along the surface. That's flat. That's what an angle is. So yeah, Surf Daddy's correct, but you don't need to go that complicated to prove Earth's measured flat. Just say one word. Miles. End of argument. There's no getting around it. That's why all the maps are flat. It's a linear tool for measuring. In this case, distance, therefore Earth, therefore flat.
Yeah, but did you just say that you can't accept that you got a measurement and that's it? Or did I mishear that?
Oh, he said he did accept.
What I'm saying is that there's got to be other things other than just measuring. There's got to be something else, like the phases of the moon. You know, to me that doesn't make sense. Like on the globe. You know, like to me, I'm looking at the sun right now, and I'm tracking the moon. The sun's right beside the moon's right beside the sun, but I don't see it.
Hello, can you hear me? On a globe, it doesn't make sense. No, the globe is created with flat Earth measurements. If you're saying measurements isn't enough, and then you start detailing what on a globe would or wouldn't do, the on a globe bit comes from the flat Earth measurements you don't want to accept as good enough. So what, you won't accept that the measurements of a flat Earth are good enough, but you'll create a globe with them to compare whether or not things will work on it with the moon? Who cares what the moon's doing? If you're describing the moon in an elliptical motion, that's flat Earth angles that are described through orbital motion. Those are measurements of a flat Earth to create a globe for you to describe the orbital motion and therefore perception of what we see of the moon throughout the night and day. Those are flat Earth starting points also. So you've got to accept the flat Earth measurements if you wanted to start describing what a ball does, because the ball comes from those measurements.
No, what I'm saying, what I said was I'm looking at the sun right now. It's right in front of me. The moon is right next to it, but I don't see anything there. You get what I'm saying? So to me, there's got to be other. It has to be other ways other than just the measurements that you're talking about. I'm not denying the measurements. I get that that's one proof, but there's got to be other stuff. You know, to me, that's just my opinion.
Other stuff
but
for what?
Maybe I just want.
You're not hearing me. Other stuff for what? There's got to be other stuff. There is. There's cake. There's lawnmowers. What do you mean other stuff? For what? If you want flat Earth proof, that's how it's measured. Other stuff, for what?
Like the position of the celestial bodies.
You need other stuff for the position of the celestial bodies. What do you mean you need other stuff for that?
I'm just saying, like, how come I can't see the moon right now? That's what I'm trying to say.
Because you've got eyeballs. I'll answer you. Stop talking when you ask a question. Because you've got eyeballs. Why can you see the moon? Because you've got eyeballs? Anything else? This didn't require any connection to a flat Earth for you to open your eyes and see the moon in answer to your question. So this has no bearing on whether or not Earth's flat or the globe that you mentioned a moment ago, and I interrupted you because of it. The globe, you haven't acknowledged it. It comes from flat Earth measurements. You said there's got to be more. What, than the measurements of Earth? No, there doesn't need any more than that. That's it. That's all you need. But you're saying, no, it's not enough. Now you're saying the celestial objects, moon, why do I see it? Because you've got eyeballs. Okay? Next.
No, I'm saying I don't see it. It's telling me the moon's supposed to be right next to the sun. I don't see it.
What's telling you... Just sentence fragment. Who's telling you this?
Are you seeing time and date?
I don't need any help. I don't need any help.
Be there?
I don't need any help. It's telling me, end quote you, What's it? And how is it telling you? Is it got lips? Is it a person? Does it have a name? What's telling you this? Is it the globe models telling you? We already know where this is going. Just let's hurry it along. What's it telling you? What's telling you? Yeah, that'll be the globe model that you just don't want to admit that. Yeah, the globe model comes from the flat Earth measurements you don't want to accept as being good enough. To create the globe for you to say the explanation of how this motion, this orbital motion works, that's with respect to a globe that's created with flat Earth measurements of the angles to stars. So the measurements of a flat Earth are going to have to suffice. You said they weren't enough because you want to know how the orbital motion works. Well, the description of orbital motion requires Earth be measured flat. So we're going to have to accept these flat Earth measurements you said weren't good enough to compare how it does or doesn't work in orbital terms. Do you understand? It is definitely enough that we measure Earth flat. There's nothing else required by anybody. It should just be enough, but for some reason it isn't for you. You want to compare it to how things get told to you? It's saying that? No, the globe model doesn't have lips to tell you anything. So are we done? Flat Earth measurements is all you need, mate. It's all you need to move on with your life. No other explanation needed. Earth's measured flat. It's kind of boring when you know. Once you get the secret, there is no hidden agenda or globe model telling you how things should be presenting themselves in the sky. Those descriptions come from measurements of a flat Earth. So we're going to have to accept that Earth's measured flat if we're going to make a compare and contrast to how a globe says it works, because the globe came from those measurements. Hope that's clear.
Yeah, once the globe is dead, you got flat Earth measurements. The solar system goes out the window.
Yeah, why can we see the moon doing what it does? Who cares? The descriptions that come from the measurements of the moon in terms of its angular relationship to a flat surface create models like the heliocentric model. But we'll have to acknowledge that Earth's measured flat for the angular relationship of the moon in that mathematical reification. We're not going to be comparing it and contrasting it unless we all accept that the Earth's been measured flat to create it. It's not, oh, well, it's not enough. There's got to be more. How does it work when I look at the orbital motion of the moon? Well, the orbital motion is a description that's come from flat Earth measurements. So we're back to you've got to understand and acknowledge that those measurements are the be-all and end-all of everything when it comes to describing the world, because we're only ever going to describe it how it's been measured, and that is flat.
The guy sounds to me like he's at the stage of looking around, like not accepting that he's on the globe and looking around and everything is being questioned by him. I don't see how that's a problem.
Yeah, but
At some point, all of us have done it, right?
Yeah, but we're not saying it's a problem.
no,
problem.
Nathan's not saying that it's a problem. He's saying that to have that question exist, first you must measure Earth flat. You must use apogee, perigee, zenith. All those elements require a plane of reference to describe them from.
Perfect.
So,
Yeah, exactly. I just couldn't think of the words. You got there where I couldn't think of them on the fly. To have apogee and perigee, you need a flat plane of reference. To have the question make sense in terms of the comparison I'm being asked to draw, if you need a further explanation beyond the flat Earth measurements, because it's being described as moving through an orbital motion. And in the case of the moon, you've got apogee and perigee. Also only capable of description with respect to a flat plane that must be measured to describe that motion. So that's it. Game over. Flat Earth measurements are all that must be accepted. Even if we want to believe we're on a ball. We couldn't, in this instance, be on the ball. We'd have to be in the ball, but that's a different issue.
I get you, man. That's the most important thing, the measurements. But there's no other way to prove this. There's no like what else is there besides the measurement?
What else do you need? Why would you need anything beyond that?
you know what measurements are?
I don't know, man. Maybe I'm not smart enough to like measure it like you guys. You know, like I need to see something else. I don't know.
You never travelled from point A to
Well,
point B and
why don't
utilised
we-
the miles on your car or the signs that showed you miles? Have you never taken a journey? A minute ago, you were telling me you wanted to be a frickin' sailor if you're rich enough. Now you've never utilised miles. Man, you need to pick an extreme, my friend. Is it that you're on the verge of becoming a sailor utilising distances, or is it that you've never travelled in a car and utilised miles or kilometres? Which one is it? Because if you've ever utilised miles, then you've measured Earth flat.
Of course
understand
I
that?
have, bro. Like I get it. Like we're on a flat plane everywhere we go. I get that. But my whole thing is that, like, how can we disprove the globe model? Like,
Okay.
there's gotta be like something.
Okay, no worries. I'll tell you. So someone says we're on a globe. You go, okay. How was the globe that you think you're on, not you, but next man, how does that globe that man you're talking to get made? Well, it starts by measuring Polaris off a flat Earth to create those lines that wrap around the globe we call latitude lines. You know latitude lines, the ones wrapped around the globe? Those are flat Earth measurements. So, in the most layman's terms possible, to have a globe for you to say, oh, well, how do I debunk this globe? To have that globe, to think you need to debunk it, you've first got to make it. And to make the globe, we'll measure Earth flat to create it for you to question how we'll debunk it. You with me? The globe gets made with flat Earth measurements. So there's no need to debunk it if someone says, how do you debunk me being on a globe? What, the globe that's created by way of flat Earth measurements? What if they start telling you about how they knew it was a globe 2,000 years ago because they measured sticks and shadows? On a flat Earth! Hello? The proofsies that they suggest they've got for their globe that they're asking you about came from there's no exception to what I said earlier. All measurements of Earth without exception will be flat Earth measurements. So Eratosthenes is measuring elevation angles to the sun in Cyan and Alexandria. He's measuring angles on a flat Earth to suggest that they're on a globe. He's then making stadia, whatever the bloody hell that is, a linear measurement of the surface. So we're measuring Earth flat 2,000 years ago. We're measuring Earth flat today. And between then and now, we'll be measuring Earth flat to create the ball that we need to then debunk for not being flat. The ball only exists because we measured Earth flat to create it. In this instance, star measurements with angles. So you just need the flat Earth measurements. In this case, the ones that made the ball will be sufficient to debunk the ball, because you can't have the ball unless you've got a flat Earth to measure. So I won't be moving forward debunking the ball. I'll be pointing out how that ball came to fruition and how it was made with flat Earth angle measurements to Polaris in this case. Or the sun, if you're going to talk about Cyan and Alexandria and Eratosthenes and his flat Earth elevation angles measurements that he made off a flat surface. Again.
Well, if you come around...
Go on.
Sorry.
You good?
If you come around daily, we do have housekeeping questions. We address a lot of things, and you'll constantly see a debunk of the heliocentric so-called model that we don't have. There isn't a globe model. That's number one. But if you hang around, we're giving you the top thing right now. It may be hard to digest, but hang around. You're in the right place. You will come to a comprehension.
Or don't, just get on with your day. No, you don't have to hang around. Just get on with your day. No Earth's measured flat. So long as you don't want to convert next, man, then you don't need to learn these arguments. You don't need to concern yourself with it. Just know one thing and only one thing, and then you can get on with your day. You never have to come back. You don't have to support me financially. You don't have to watch my videos. You don't have to watch my ads. Nothing. I don't ask any of that. You don't have to give me any of it. Just know the Earth is measured flat. Always, without exception. If you know that, you can get on with your day. You don't need to concern yourself with any of it. But if you decide that you want to tell next man he's wrong when he tells you he's on a ball, then you're going to have problems. Then if that's your desire, then yeah, you want to probably stick around for a couple of years, listen to everything we have to say and try and memorize it and understand it so you can parrot it off in
I just want to know the truth, man. That's all. You know, I'm processing what you say, but you know, it's a lot to digest. But you know, I want to know the truth. That's it.
You know it.
You know, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm not.
You are
you seem
arguing
like
with
a
me.
very,
You are.
very smart
You're saying
person.
that's a
you know,
lie.
I
Stop.
can't
Stop.
debate
It's a
with you.
lie. It's a lie. Don't lie. You are arguing with me. When I say Earth's measured flat, you say there's got to be more. So you don't want to argue with me. Well, why aren't you accepting that Earth's measured flat because it is? You want more. Well, no. I sense that you want to be able to tell next man where he's wrong. Right? What if Ball Believer says he's on a ball? How do I... Yeah, okay, you want to debate the subject. Okay, no worries. I mean, there's a couple of options. You can hang around here and listen to the arguments, how they pad out, and how you'd overcome that if next man tells you he's on a ball. You'd need to know the arguments inside out so you can overcome anything he throws at you. But if you don't desire to tell next man he's not on a ball, and you just want to, quote, know the truth, Earth's measured flat. There aren't any exceptions to that statement of fact. And anything that ever measures Earth, I assure you, will be a flat Earth prerequisite. A measurement of a flat plane, there's no exceptions. If you know that, yeah, you don't have to worry about this subject anymore. You don't have to hang around.
Think about this, sir. If you came here and said, I want to know the emperor's naked, right? And we said, well, he ain't got no clothes on. He's naked. Would you feel weird, someone saying, but that's not enough?
There's got to be more. You've got to prove that he hasn't got the invisible clothes on. What evidence have you got that he doesn't have invisible clothes on? Can you prove the non-invisible clothes first? There's got to be more than just saying we can see his fucking penis. That's not enough. Yeah, it is enough. I can see his todger. The man's naked. The children can see it.
Yeah, the children are all laughing. It's just the adults don't want to see it.
Yeah, the adults don't want to see it. They're going to be generationally left behind. Gen Alpha are going to be laughing at Gen X and Gen Z and millennials. All of you, you're all going to be laughed at by Gen Alpha. They're going to be laughing at you because they know balls to bones that Earth's measured flat and they don't question it like complete idiots. Yeah?
By the way, did you mention you got a book coming out?
Yeah, just buy my book and read it if you want to be able to debate people and tell them that they're not on a ball and that they're an idiot for... If you want that secret knowledge, you can lord over people. Read my book and learn it inside out and back to front when it comes out in a few months' time. Then you'll be a debating ninja, and when next man says, but I see the sun going behind an Earth curve edge at the horizon, you'll be able to say, what, the horizon that's derived from surface level? We measure flat for our height of eye in Earth curve maths. You'll be able to rattle off a statement like that. And bitch slap that stupid globe-believing retard with your exemplary knowledge of how Earth's measured flat, because you understand implicitly that that is the case always. And you didn't just get on with your day, you went and learnt how, in this instance, Earth's measured flat at the surface level. We will measure for our height of eye above it when asserting that there's a geometric horizon called Earth curve below the measured surface level that is flat. Because Earth's always measured flat. But you can, like I say, become a debating ninja by learning every word of my book inside out and back to front. Take you about 3 months of reading it over and over again about 5 times, maybe 10.
You don't know that. You may get it on the first read. Listen, that book is going to have everything. The last 10 years, what's been going on this show, how we've been debating these ballers, anti-flat earthers. You're going to have it all in there. And it's beautifully written.
In any event,
Yeah, no, I'll definitely get that book for sure.
Perfect. I'll take a pre-order. It's £479, please. No, I don't know how much it's going to be.
Got to give it to Mighty Mush. Mighty Mush brought him here for a reason. So you're in a good place. That's all.
Just for the guys, for you, so you know, Wrecked. I'm running a live show. You are but a blank canvas. I have nothing personal against you whatsoever. And when I say you can get on with your life and no Earth's flat, that's really the only true statement I've given you in that regard, right? Because I don't care. Again, nothing personal. If you are concerned with there needing to be more after this fact, when the show ends, that is, I won't care. No offence. But the facts of the matter are still as stated. Earth is just measured flat. That is the be-all and end-all of claiming anything beyond that, like being on a ball, and knowing that implicitly to the point where you can debate and point out where Earth is measured flat when someone suggests Earth is a ball is the next step of hanging around here for a long time. But you don't need it. You just don't need it. I would discourage it. Right, the amount of freaking charlatans that say words like, you don't have to believe me, don't take my word for it, just give me $3 for my app. Or something like that. I want to take that and put it on its head and say, not only you do need to believe me first and foremost, it's because it's not a belief, it's a statement of fact when I say Earth's measured flat. You don't require belief for me to state that as a fact. And frankly, I don't care if you believe me when I state a fact that Earth is measured flat. I don't care. Yeah? But what I do offer as a suggestion is that you can get on with your day. You don't need to hang around here and give me money. You don't need to buy an app from me or download my membership. You don't need any of that. You don't need it. If you know Earth is measured flat, because as I've just told you, that's a fact. Like, not disputable, not debatable. I'm not going to be challenged on it. You're not going to find a circumstance where Earth isn't measured how it's measured. It's measured flat in all instances without exception. And that's all the proof anybody will ever need in this subject. The illusion has been created that there's a debate. Like that the flat Earth measurements that we take to create the ball mean that we can suggest that Earth could be a ball. No, we'd have to measure Earth flat to create a maths that suggests we're on a ball. Well, actually inside a ball, but most people don't realise it because they haven't studied their own friggin' religion of being on a ball that came from flat Earth measurements, because that's how Earth is measured. Know that and get on with your day.
Yeah, but we're handing them the silver bullet right from Jump Street. I always wonder how would we have responded if we got the silver bullet immediately. I guess I'm seeing now.
I think if I would have got that silver bullet immediately, I'd say to myself, you know what I need? I need a very high quality microphone.
Oh, boy.
Well, the thing is, they were throwing the silver bullets at us. We just weren't picking them up.
Exactly, right. But if we would have picked it up, there wouldn't be no show. So I guess everybody's got to go through the nonsense. I don't know.
Nobody has to go through any nonsense. That's what I'm saying.
Keep
I
telling
hear the
us that Nathan's
sentiment.
answer
Oh, sorry,
was just
Chocolate, go ahead.
wonderful.
Go ahead.
Nah, I was just making a joke. I'm done.
I understand what you're saying, Chocolate. It's taking me a full show to realize it. Sorry.
I hear the sentiment from Dave Weiss, right? Now, maybe I'm picking on Dave Weiss. Maybe I should have another pop at Dave Weiss. Maybe it's like Jaron previously, and everyone will tell me off when I just walk past the fact that Dave Weiss is a proven shill already, which isn't necessarily the case as far as I'm concerned. But maybe I should take it a little bit more easy on him and have another bash where Jaron has been exposed as a shill. Maybe Dave Weiss was a victim of circumstance. Backed the wrong horse, so to speak. A horse that was telling him, like he was telling everyone, that I was the scammer, and Dave got caught up in that little whirlwind. And now, presumably, if I inquire with him and find he's seen the error of his ways, given how shilly Jaron has been, and understands that he backed the wrong friggin' horse, maybe we can rebuild a relationship that he tarnished when he told people he weren't watching me. Yeah, he just became a member for free when he was obviously gifted it, given the amount of hours that Dave Weiss spends watching my channel, that he told people he weren't watching at the behest of shill Jaron. Massively impacting my ability to feed my family. Dave's scum, but we'll see if we can mend some bridges with that scumbag. Yeah? And we'll start with educating Dave Weiss in how Earth is measured flat. In all instances. And instead of telling people, you don't have to trust me, Yeah, well, it's not about trust, Dave. It's not about belief either. Yeah? What it is about is telling people in no uncertain terms the facts in the matter. Bitch slapping them with them facts. Like, oh, you don't have to believe me. You can buy my app. Yeah, you do have to believe me because it's not about frigging belief. It's about what I tell you. You will accept it. What's that you don't like me telling you because I'm a flat earther? I couldn't care less either. I don't care what you believe. I'm telling you it's measured flat. Deal with it. That's what you need to do. Not, you don't have to believe me. The flights would be different on the azimuthal equidistant projection. See for yourself. Do your own research. No, you don't need to do your research for yourself. I've done it for you. I'm telling you it's measured flat. It's a fact. I've done the research for you. That's right. You can feel stupid for that fact that I've done this research for you. Before you got to it, I was here first. I found out for you on your behalf. Now I'm telling you at no cost to you. It's flat. That's how it's measured. Those are the facts. I'm not asking you. I'm not seeking affirmation from you. I don't need you to confirm that you believe me, because it's not a frigging belief. When I tell you, nay, bitch slap you with this fact, Earth is measured flat, you don't have to like it. And I don't care if you believe me. Now, Dave the twat Weiss will say, you don't have to believe me. You can do your own research just like I did. Yeah, that's wank. Yeah, I will tell you what's what when it comes to Earth, because I know for a fact what Earth is. It's flat. That's how it's measured. That's a statement of absolute certitude, a statement of unequivocal fact, something that is uncontestable and required for you dicks to have a globe belief. Now, I'm going to be yelling this in your retarded faces, globe believers, because it's a fact that you need to get on your friggin' knees and acknowledge. And I'll be telling you it while I'm out on the circuit promoting my book. When you bring up anything to do with a ball, I'll be saying with the biggest smirk on my face that you need to get on your retarded knees and acknowledge the flat earth measurement you'll need for your dumbass globe belief. Now, again, I won't be saying, you don't need to believe me, do your own research. I'll be bitch slapping you retards with the flat earth you damn well need, and will be on your fucking knees acknowledging, just like Dan did yesterday. Maybe someone would like to oblige me by taking up the time that I don't have and trimming out my clip of telling Dan what a fucking retard he is. So I start boiling in the heat of my projector and amps and computer. It's really hot here. You can tell by how sweary I'm getting. My point is...
No excuse.
No excuse, you're right. I'll tone it down one notch, Neil. My point is that regardless of what your belief is or what I desire from you in terms of belief, there is an unequivocal, unmovable fact when it comes to what Earth actually is. Earth is flat by way of measurement. Not only is that measurement a prerequisite always, it's needed to conjure the illusion of being on a ball. And am I to cross paths with any ball-believing numpties who have taken it upon themselves to pour scorn on any flat earther, I will bitch slap you with the flat earth that you require to believe in a ball. Me, I'll be telling you about the earth that's flat that you've measured, and demanding that you get on your knees and acknowledge just how flat earth must be for you to retain your flat earth measurement-based bull belief that you told me about. Know that, you bull-believing retards.
Very good.
Shout out to Chuberticus, who says, belief is the enemy of knowing. $100 super chat. Wow. Thank you very much indeed for the support. Really appreciate it. I'm going to round out the live show, though, because as I was saying to Craig when I was in his shop yesterday, which was beautifully cool, it was like, oh, I could live here. This is so nice. It's like about 10 degrees cooler than everywhere else. So, yeah, I spent a bit of time there saying, well, it's really hot in my flat, and you can tell by how quickly I get to swearing, how quickly that frog, me, has been boiled in its own juices, because the temperature creeps up on you while you're doing a live show with a projector and a whole bunch of amplifiers and a computer that pumps out a ton of heat, monitors, the whole kit and caboodle, right? If the whole room gets sealed up at the beginning of the show, and then over the course of how long we've been going, hour and 40 minutes, the temperature just slowly creeps up on you until I'm swearing and effing and blinding. So I'm really sorry, audience. It's not your fault. It's mine. I mean, I blame the heat. It's too hot. But I'm going to round out shortly. Any comments in regards to the unequivocal fact that Earth is measured flat? Speak now, as we're about to round out.
Get an air conditioner.
It's not the done thing here in the UK, Neil. This weather will pass in 3 days. Anything
Yeah,
other
but
than...
they have the ones that you could roll in your room and cool it off right there. They're not much.
They just don't work. I know what you're talking about. I've had one. I have done that previously. It just doesn't work.
Could just leave the fridge door open.
Like Homer Simpson, like make a tent, put it on the end of the...
Yeah, Homer Simpson tent next to the fridge.
That is a plan. Any more?
Do you have an ice maker at your house? And you could use an ice maker, make a bowl of ice and put around your computer, and that'll it would cause a kind of a heat shield for you as a protection from that heat from the computer.
Yes, I'm sure water vapor and fragile, delicate electronics, they go really well together, I'm sure. Any more for any more?
Actually, no, we're doing an after show though, right?
He's actually correct. It wouldn't make the slightest bit of difference unless I allowed that water vapor, as it was in the process of cooling the computer, to actually condense on the electronics. It actually wouldn't matter. You know, the laws of thermodynamics still apply. It's not going to suddenly condense on the electronics when it's vapor just because it's liquid in original form. Well, it's still liquid even in gaseous form, but you know what I mean? It's not about to condense on any components in the computer if I were to do that. But if I suddenly turned the computer off, removed all the ice cubes and just left the water in the air and then it condensed, there's a good chance it would destroy the computer. My God.
Yeah, I didn't suggest it, no.
Any more for any more? No? With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, another massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the super chat, hit me up on PayPal and Ko-Fi and all that good stuff. Of course, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video. Shout out to Goldie, second best moderator in the whole wide world, only to Divergent Droid, for gifting 5 memberships. Really appreciate the support, Goldie. Thank you very much indeed. Stay tuned if you are watching on an after show.